Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the CM Kozeman Incredible Technological Wonder live streams. 12 people watching. It's been a while since I streamed on YouTube. I had been trying to stream with OBS, and I even had a fancy waveform thing going in the background, but it didn't work out. So now you just have to get the plain Jane version. Hello, everybody. Let's confirm that you can see me first. Okay. Okay, Blake Richardson says hello. Faust's Morning says hello. Yeah, people can see me. That's a good thing. Yes. Hello, Mr. Kozeman. Kyra Fiskroff confirms they can see me. Dan McAleer, hello. Caden Slinker says hello, hello, hello. Well, I hope you missed me. I'll just give. How about the sound, by the way? I hope the sound is okay. Kyra Fiskroff says, I feel so terrible today, so sick. I hope it's only a sickness of the body and you're doing okay mentally. Sound is good. Heh geldi, says Robotipi. Pitch and tempo are perfect. Well, we're back in the game. Now, I got good news for you. I got far more viewers on YouTube. All Tomorrow's fan says, I accidentally committed a cosmic crime. So, long story short, I am in another part of the country. I am in the Çanakkale province. And basically, I've been really lucky. I have landed a art residency program, which is a fancy way of saying that they're hosting me for free in this hotel, and I just sit and paint and just create stuff on a on a basically a gallery is paying this hotel to host me, and I'm being very productive. I'm giving them my all. In fact, let me show you some of the stuff that I've been making. These are just a few. For others, you have to follow me on Instagram or maybe Patreon. And let me remind you, the links are, well, I can't even post text here. I used to have text with the links. Go to patreon.com/cmkozeman, buymeacoffee.com/cmkozeman. And I've been like painting everything from little pieces like this. I got a really nice painting set outside. Stuff like this. Like this. So I've been painting nonstop, literally every day. I paint nearly 10 pieces, and these will all be offered to sale by artniveau.com, an online gallery, an art seller here native to Turkey. This is nice. I had a bunch of these like manila papers, and it's really fun. Congratulations, beautiful paintings. Thank you. Look, I've been really lucky. I take nothing for granted. I work my ass off. I have, let me show you some of my setup. I have also been producing for this channel. Here's one of the nicer ones. And only you are seeing this. Amygdalum says they've come out quite well. Thank you. Somebody's giving me hearts. Thank you. Kara Fiskroff just beat Half-Life Opposing Forces. If you're into Half-Life, consider watching the Half-Life Spec Evo Spectacular on this channel. The big one made my jaw drop. And this is not even the biggest one. I also have a bunch of newsprint stuff like this, male and female archetypes. So yeah, these are nice. Plus a whole lot of other stuff I just don't, I'm just not showing you at the moment. I have these huge ass sheets of paper and I'll get around to painting them. Like these are really big, like I don't know, 5'1" or something. You could make real life pictures of some people. Whoa, huge. Okay, also, let me also show you my art rig. Since unfortunately I do not have the camera system that can record me drawing, so it's just gonna have to be a talk stream tonight. But yeah, this is the kind of setup I have. I basically sit here all day and paint. I mean, there's a dead grasshopper. And well, I've been painting that. You know, it's kind of funny, but I really feel like I earned this, and you know, knock on wood. As everybody knows, all our victories are ephemeral. Only our defeats are final. But that's the way this life has been put together. Robotipi says this one looks like Ebru art. The grasshopper painting is awesome. Well, wait till I get them scanned. Die Snail FB says, Kozeman, hello, Maut. Yes. Kyra Fiskroff says, transcription, alluding to a process I do not know. I've also been trekking at nights looking for snakes. And that is going to be a big adventure video in itself. I'm really excited for that. I have had mixed success finding snakes. I did find the snake shedding, and I just been mounting it on paper. Just really, really beautiful. Yeah, so I've been getting my fill of nature and art and practically a free vacation. So it's this deal where I do these paintings, they go straight to this gallery and they sell them. And if they're sold, we split the earnings. But it's a collection I'm just producing for this gallery. And I'm also promoting them online to my not inconsiderable number of fans and friends. So, yes, it's a kind of tactical activity. Yes. Okay, so 26 people in the house. Everything is Marvy. Once again, if you're watching the recording, if you're new to this channel, support me on Patreon, buy me a coffee, or get my merch. The links are below. Let me check some messages. Then, just a second. Yes. I love searching for snakes, although the only snake skins I have gotten are from my pet skin. Cornelius, says Amygdalum. Polyps conglomeration says, I missed you, Mr. Cosman. I missed you too. I missed you all. Let me just check some. Okay, I'm just removing some files from the other end. Recently, I've been drawing a lot of chicken, says. Is there a... Nicholas Fortney asks, is there an eco-region / biome you yearn to visit in the world that you've never been to? I'm actually a big fan of the Mediterranean world, but I would love to see tropical rainforests in Southeast Asia, Philippines, Malaysia, Borneo, especially Indonesia. I would love to explore those parts of the world. Also, the highlands of Papua New Guinea, if I have like powers of instantaneous travel. Those are the ecosystems I would love to see. Brooke T with very sharp ears says, are you singing Weezer's? Heck yes. It's been stuck in my mind. That's a nice song, actually. It's really catchy and it's like ironic and fun. So, yeah. All Tomorrow's fan says, desert rain frogs and other rain frogs are the most adorable. Yes, those are the derpy frogs with the silly mouths. Yeah. So, okay, here's a deal now, okay? I'm going to take you to OnlyFans, and you're going to watch this fan rotate and let me know which part of the world you are from and send me your questions. And let's get some comments here. Also call everyone you know on your socials. I need more buddies in the house. The reason you are watching my OnlyFans here is that I need to go to the kitchen area of this hotel and grab myself some coffee because there's some really nice vibes here. And well, I just need to, I think it's going to be a great stream. I need to get some coffee. Fortunately, we have a big selection of coffee here. Nescafe, 3-in-1 whole. So valuable, it's not for sale. You can only buy the big package, not the small ones. All right. Also, you're going to choose what kind of dirty ass snack Daddy Cosman is going to feed you. Is it going to be the Togo Best 3X biscuit? A really big one. Fucking Magnum in here. Yes. We also have Caramelli, which kind of looks innocuous until you see the brand name, which is X-Roll. Believe me, Turkish marketers, they don't mess around. X-Roll, I bet it's the name of some, like X-Hamster, some naughty video site out there. So it could be like, is it going to be X-Roll Caramelli or, well, is it going to be this X-Roll special, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but yes, it is what it is. I am displaying this to you in shame, and shame. X-Roll NUGA bar, which I dare not pronounce as a name. So there. Which one is your favorite? Caramelli, Best 3X, or that other thing? Let me know while I make myself some coffee, and I will be right back. A-rated sugar syrup candy. Magnum one. Okay, vote. And yes, I'll be right back, peoples. I just released a moth for you. I hope you like that. All right, there's some amazing comment action going on there. Moth is a special guest, says Emilia Constantiniou. Epharisto Poli, my Greek friend. I hope you liked the moth action. This region, for some reason, is currently being swarmed by noctuid moths, which are really interesting. So those are cool. Incredible entrance. Okay, now we're going to have coffee, chocolate, and a great conversation. Thank you all for your patience. I just have to answer one last call of nature, then I will be back. All right. Yes, let's read everybody's comments. All Tomorrow's fan is from Michigan. Caden Slinker is from Enterprise, Alabama, USA. Absent Fish says, my brain hurts. I can't identify what color the fan is. Robotipi is from Istanbul, Turkey. Amygdalum is from Plymouth, Massachusetts, where Thanksgiving all started. I absolutely adore your art. From Chile, says Clapage McPhee. Thank you. Cadence Slinkers wants me to eat X-Roll, but I think, yeah, everybody says best X3. So I'm going to eat this one. Unclear Rain says X-Roll candy bar videos. Oh ho. Turgay says sütlü köpüklü means milky and foamy. Well, let's get into the best now. Oh. Okay. It's actually a very small, weird, brick-sized kind of thing. It's very light, but the chocolate is very sweet. 32 people just watching your weirdest Turkish eccentric character eating chocolate. Absent Fish says, the fan is mesmerizing. I think David Lynch would be very pleased with the shot composition on the screen right now. Well, look, my views on David Lynch. David Lynch is this American director. He directed something called Twin Peaks. Actually, as a student, he had this one good film, which was called Eraserhead, and it's one of the strangest films you'll ever watch. Eraserhead, go watch it. He also directed the first official Dune movie in 1985, but I don't think that movie was great, although it's got a really weird vibe. And actually, David Lynch's entire shtick, his spiel, is this weird vibes. He is best known for this TV series / movies called Twin Peaks, and it's all about these like very weird, uncanny dream-like scenes where people talk slowly, or there are these weird shots that nobody knows what's going on. He gets a lot of clout But I think he's just faking it. He's clearly an unsophisticated person pretending to be sophisticated. And I don't think, look, if in a world with directors like David Cronenberg or Stanley Kubrick, you can't seriously talk about David Lynch as a director of high art movies, you know. Like only go watch Eraserhead. And so yeah. I love mods, says Emilia Constantinu. Wafer is good. Wafer, wafer, wafer. Stupid All Tomorrow's fan says, my toad is chunky as heck. Takuteira says, referring to maybe Eraserhead, it's a film that scratches your brain. Yes. Nicholas Fortney says, base take. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Emre Chepney relates to the David Lynch Dune movie and says he's trying to adapt the full story in Dune. I agree it's not a good movie except for the soundtrack. All Tomorrow's fan says Family Guy. I don't know why. Let's just answer some messages. I missed you all. Toad Memer says, hello, Toad Memer. I got the fans with the best names. So what should we talk about tonight? Do you want to talk about life, science? I can also be your agony daddy, like an agony aunt, but a guy, and listen to your woes and try to answer them to the best of my capacity. Agony Daddy Kozman. Good name. Cora says, hi. Brother Man says, do you like Jodorowsky's films? Yes. Jodorowsky is this crazy outsider director. And he's got a really wild set of films. In some of his films, he's actually killed live animals, so I'm not a big fan of that, but he's a really insane guy, so I respect him. He also became a comic artist later. So also, we also have a guest appearance by a click beetle, which I'm going to show you right now. Okay, wait. God damn it. Huh. Where'd it go? Huh. God damn. This beetle is really active. I'm trying to get him to do the click thing, but it's just too fast. Huh. Boom! Come on there. Hadi be aslanım. Hadi be aslanım. Come on. Yes, he did it. Yes, and it flew off. Co-starring Mediterranean click beetle of unknown genus. You know these guys, right? They have this like clicking articulation in their back. I wish I could draw it, but I don't have I have all my painting equipment, but I don't have my drawing kit here. Robotipi says, hadi be aslanım, avacıvıcı. Yeah. Clara Fiscroft says, what are your thoughts on machine civilization? Can there be machine civilizations composed of individuals or as a collective intelligence? Interesting and smart question. It doesn't look like true artificial intelligence is possible. Even with all the advances in AI. AI is a whole other side caveat, and it is a very effective way of reproducing images in a certain way or generating images in a certain way. And every week, and I am recording this in May 2024, every week now or every month now, there's some new AI development. But then, did you notice there are these advances in AI, but you can still tell them apart? No matter how lifelike it gets, you can still tell it apart. And that's only what, like image generation? And also, ChatGPT is really creeping into people's work lives. It's way easier to like do certain tasks with ChatGPT. But none of these are anywhere close a real sort of intelligence. It does not have initiative, and its mimic effects are paltry at best. You go back a few weeks later and you realize, maybe not. But you could certainly have civilizations consisting of machines with loads of like creatures squashed between the links. So it's a machine mediated composite entity. But that has happened before on Earth. You could argue that industrial civilization was one such thing where the mechanisms of production, while not intelligent in themselves, they still change the lifestyles of, well, in our entire species. They trapped growing populations in cities, and it could be argued that the looming precipitous drop in birth rates is a byproduct of industrial civilization. But I don't think you're going to get like individual smart machines anytime soon. If you see things like that, they might have a little operator sitting in them somewhere. I mean, you could argue that America is a machine civilization. Like the way the way they take cars seriously there. Different cars are like different clothes. Like I'm a big fan of Subaru cars, and I was thinking, daydreaming. I say, if I lived in the States, maybe I'll drive a Subaru. It turns out Subaru is coded as the lesbian single mother car. How the fuck was I supposed to know? So yeah, there's a machine civilization right there. I think we are part of a machine civilization. Now I'm talking you through a machine. You're listening to me through machines. Most of you have smartphones. I don't, because fuck these machines. But most of you have smartphones, and they really regulate your emotions, your social life, even the way you work or make money. Hassan Gülenç says, I believe machine civilizations would be like the Borg. It's too crude. You already have this. You already have the screen. You don't need like a shower cable coming out of your mouth. Hayden says that doesn't stop me from driving a Subaru based. Some diehard members of this channel might know that I applied for the US Green Card Lottery, and I was really hopeful for it for about a year. Unfortunately, I did not get it, but I was always daydreaming, saying, what if it happens? What kind of car will I get? And I was always like at a crossroads between three options. One was, what was it? Chrysler. Just a second. It was some sort of Chrysler car, but yeah, Chrysler Concorde, those wide and long cars that I really like those. 1995 Chrysler Concorde. I really like those. Imagine me pulling up in one of those. Another one was the car I already drive in Turkey, and that's a Volkswagen Golf. Those cars are really resilient and easy to use. So yeah. But anyways, that did not happen, and that's the end of our car discussion. More people. Hello, Hayden, says Caden. Hasan Günenç says, by Borg, I meant the collective machine intelligence needing a biological mediator. Yes, but in the Star Trek universe, in the Borg, the machine has the initiative. Whereas even now, as saturated we are with technology, we are still, like humans still seem to have the initiative. But it all becomes kind of academic and like an exercise in semantics if you look at civilizations. Like as the great American philosopher Tom Morello says, who got the power is being my question, the priest or the book or the congregation. Michal Sadowski, thoughts on cephalopods? Just go to this channel, and there's a big ass cephalopod review video, so you have to watch that. Donkey Kong Max says hello. Taku Teira says, I wish I had a horse. Okay. Idle Speculation says, what is your favorite Köppen climate zone? Let's look those up. What the hell is a Köppen climate zone classification? Oh, okay. So it's this like it has these things: tropical, temperate, dry, continental, polar. And then there are different subsections. Like, look, mine is the one that you find in the Mediterranean world. Okay. Italy, Greece, Turkey, like whatever Köppen that is, it's going to be my Köppen. So, yes. Why don't we talk about the new thylacine? Photos, says Absent Fish. Good idea. Let me actually get those and bring them up on the screen. You could do this far easily with OBS, and I wish it worked, but yeah. So let me get those. Yeah, the screen sharing option on YouTube live streams is kind of weird. I have to select which app or which tab I need to share. And I don't want to pull a Waush over here. So I'm just downloading the images first. Thylacine. So long story short, these photos have been shared by this one notorious individual called Forrest Galante. And my friend Trey the Explainer did a really good dissection of these pictures. There were 3 pictures, and here's one of them. Okay, so we got them all. Let's fire them up on preview. And yeah, now I'm going to share the screen, and I just hope we don't pull a whoosh over here. Yeah, here goes nothing. Can you see now? Yes. Okay, and nothing else is visible. Good. So this is what a thylacine looks like. Obviously, this is an actual photo of a real, one of the last thylacines. Now, these are the pictures that Forrest Galante shared. One of them was this, another one was this, another one was this thing. And some of them on first sight seem like, okay, wow, It's got glowing eyes. It's got like weird kangaroo-like stance. Then there's this thing which has a weird jaw going on, but yeah, maybe animals look really strange when they're moving. Okay, okay. And then there's this thing which has a completely different color scheme, and like everything is so blurry and grainy. And I mean, like some of these images, unless you knew if you didn't know who Forrest Galante was, you would really have the big, strong I want to believe factor going on with this shit. Because you really feel like, okay, maybe, yeah, it has a kind of like wide body stance, almost like a weird kangaroo. It does look like a real moving, strange animal and not like a model or something made with AI. But once you kind of look deeper into Forrest Galante's character, his previous deeds and stuff, it's clear to see this guy is a charlatan. Before he released these pictures, he was talking about a guy having some proof of the thylacines, but he would never release it because he swore him to secrecy and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I guess those images we saw, unless extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence, and I wish he'd shot video, you know. I don't believe him. Forrest Galante is probably a charlatan. And if he wants to debate me, he's kind of intimidated my good friend Trade Explainer. If he wants to debate me or talk about this, just have a nice conversation. Just just talk. I am not shirking. I have a way of picking these characters apart. Mm. There's some conversations. Okay, nice questions. Donkey Kong Max asks, have you read Octavia Butler's Bloodchild? Unfortunately, I haven't. Mr. Cosman, do you know about analog horror? What's your favorite analog horror series? Says Stupid Old Tomorrow's fan. It has to be the Kane Pixels Backrooms series. The way I know analog horror is this kind of like creepy pasta like video genre of horror, where everything looks like it's been recorded by an old time VHS recorder and every image is grainy and stuff. And there's lots of liminal spaces. I like analog horror, but it's a big world. I don't know enough about this genre as much as I should. I think my favorite ones would have to be the very old Blair Witch Project, and then the Kane Pixels. What was it even called? Backrooms series, yes. And the author's name, the creator's name is Kane Pixels, Kane Pixels. Also, there's this incredible short horror film. I really loved it. It was called there's this one short movie where these guys, these British kids, go around in circles. They keep coming to this town called Bennington, and they get lost and they reverse, they try to go away, but they still end up in the same place. It's like they've been caught in a time loop or something. What was this thing called though? Do you remember? It had the word Bennington in it, and it's like a found footage video of these three kids driving in a car. And yeah, if anyone remembers the name, please let me know. But I really like that. That's my favorite analog horror title. Bizantion says esenlikler. Thanks to you too. Just checking some messages. Isn't it really weird that a wild animal will let a human get so close to photograph it, referring to the infamous Galante Thylacine pictures? Probably. That would not have surprised me, but this guy is a known forger and a known liar and a perfidious character. So anything coming out of his mouth needs twice the scrutiny. Michal Sadowski says, "What is your favorite new paleontological discovery?" It would probably have to be these new these new relatives of Carnotaurus that people keep finding. These abelisaurs. So these are these really weird dinosaurs with short skulls, boxy heads, and very short arms. And they keep finding new ones, and I just like those things. I think they're really nice. And apparently some forms were really big too. I don't have a particular name in my mind, unfortunately. No Toro Road. Yes, that's the one. No True Road. Yeah. Apparently, it's even got sequels, but I've only seen one, and I really love it. Really nice. Unclear Rain says, "Have you seen Annihilation? What are your thoughts about the weird biology there?" Well, go to my channel. There's an Annihilation movie review there. I made some a few years ago. Cora says, "When it comes to analog horror, Gemini home entertainment videos are really nice too." Well, I haven't seen those. Thomas Strimpel says, "Hi, Mr. Kozeman. How is it going?" Going really great, my friend. All Tomorrow's fan says, "Would you watch my analog horror? It is based on Sonic the Hedgehog, and the plot is basically four human souls trapped in Sonic the Hedgehog's body vessels trying to fight a demon that looks like Tails." Interesting. All I know about Sonic is that I was a big fan of the Sonic games on the original Mega Drive. I've been late to the other Sonic Adventure titles. I haven't played them. There's something about it that really kind of lends itself to this autistic, weird, uncanny humor. Maybe it's because the character is blue, or maybe it's because of that very famous Gotta Go Fast meme back in the 2010s. It was this crayon illustration a kid made of Sonic saying "Gotta go fast." I don't know, but like the character really lends itself to a particular mental typology. I mean, Chris Chan famously was big into Sonic. I don't know, which is double weird because actually, like, I watch Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons and they're all about like friendship and nice things. I don't know, maybe the very fact that it's blue and it's kind of like a cool character, but clearly not a human, maybe that's what does it for many people. I also know that Keanu Reeves is apparently going to voice Shadow the Hedgehog in the upcoming Sonic 3 movie. I don't know. But yeah, big fan of the original Mega Drive games. Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3. I even had the combining cartridge thing. Donkey Kong Max says, a man of culture, he says, I prefer Crash Bandicoot. Yes. I mean, look, when I was growing up, there were two fandoms, Sonic and Mario, and I always distinctly hated the Mario brothers. They were all like stomping on turtles and killing animals. And Mario had this ingrained heteronormativity in it. You know, you were the man killing bugs, saving the damsel in distress. The games were great games, actually, and like some of the later Mario games, especially Super Mario Brothers 3, that was a great one. Plus Yoshi's Island and the Super Nintendo titles. I really love them, but there's just something. There was something about Mario's character that never clicked with me. And then the other alternative was Sonic the Hedgehog, of course. But then in the early 2000s and late 1990s, and a cultured alternative sprang. Crash Bandicoot, this 3D scrolling PlayStation platformer. I really love that title. Really, like, I played until like the first four games. Really love those. And the soundtracks are amazing too. And of course, a second contender would be the Donkey Kong series. So yeah, those are four political axioms: Mario, Sonic, Donkey Kong, Crash Bandicoot. Which one are you? Idle Speculation says, have you read The Secret Saturdays, a cartoon series by Jay Stephens about obscure cryptids? I haven't. I must look into it. Gotta go fast. Yeah. King HB says, have you seen Freaky Soup Guy? Unfortunately, not. Out of nowhere question, says Benny. What are your opinions on dystopian and utopian fiction in any medium? Well, it's kind of the easy way out to push things into a dystopia and like kind of project all our world's evils onto a dystopia. And those dystopias always begin with like simple premises, like a world where everybody has to take the pill, or like a world where everybody lives in a cubicle. But an interesting thing about dystopias is that they're strangely universal. Like things might be awful, but that awful thing dominates the whole world. That's what I find strange about them. Like in the Hunger Games, you know, there's this world of Panem and whatever, but like the whole world consists of the Hunger Games universe. There's not even any consideration of other societies and stuff. Which okay, you don't have to, but like it's just this universality is this weird hallmark of dystopia fiction. Maybe utopia fiction too. But my angle on this would be a small but utopian or dystopian society and the real world's reactions to the presence of that society. That would be more interesting to consider. Byzantion says, I just played Sonic on my Nintendo DS. Good for you. But wait. Does Nintendo DS even do Sonic games? Huh, apparently it does. Look, that shows how old I am. I'm still left over from the era where Sonic meant Sega and Game Gear. I used to play Sonic games on the Game Gear. It was a kind of Game Boy alternative, but it was literally this big, and it had a fluorescent light bulb inside it, so you had to cram like 8 batteries in there, and it would last for maybe 20 minutes. It had a really weird sound drive. It sounded like a duck being throttled underwater. Donkey Kong Max says, "How do you feel about Seaman? Oh, this amazing Dreamcast game." I did not have Dreamcast, but I was reading up on it from computer game magazines, and I think it's one of the most original, fascinating games out there. Really needs to be more games like that. Well, this turned into video game conversation fast. Let's get the spot stirring. Any more questions? Any more? Like, ask me some big questions and let's get the conversation flowing. Videos for stuff, mostly probably unlisted, says, "Do you have a favorite Godzilla movie?" Yeah, it would have to be the original Destroy All Monsters. I feel like I answered this question, but Destroy All. It was made in 1968, and they basically bring together all the rubber suit Godzilla monsters from the previous movies, and there's like a big bash, and King Ghidorah is the main bad guy, and all the other weird, little known Godzilla universe characters like Anguirus, Varan, or Baragon, even Godzilla's fucking son, Mimiya, they kind of join forces to defeat this three-headed monstrosity. It was fun. I really think they should do that with like all the potentials that modern CG offers. Brother Man says, "Have you ever had a self-sustaining ecosystem jar?" I actually did. I still do. There's a Tupperware container in my house full of isopods, decaying leaves, springtails, snails, clausilid snails, which are these like very tiny minaret-shaped snails. So I got that. Yeah. If you could live in any period in geological time, when and where would that be? Says idle speculation. It would probably have to be the part of the Jurassic era that had the biggest sauropods, because I'm sure those animals like not only changed their ecosystem, but they were an ecosystem of their own in like unimaginable ways. And it's clearly something we no longer have, and I would love to see that. Unclear Rain says, Unclear Rain says, Do snake people have 4 or 6 fingers on their rear hands? Well, that's an all tomorrow's question. They have, I think, 4. So yeah. Thoughts on Sailor Moon, says Cadence Slinker. I haven't watched it. All I know is that it's got these like schoolgirl characters, and I'm not really interested in stuff like that. Blake Richardson says, I was rereading All Tomorrows this morning. Taku Teira says, with human diversity and the global nature of society, how likely is it that human natural evolution will move at a glacial pace with genetic modifications defining groups that don't self isolate? I don't know. I think human evolution will continue, but I think the kind of civilization that can do genetic engineering won't be around for long in geological terms. So it's going to be back to the old style with like populations grouping around communities and congregations, and then just developing resistance to disease in certain areas. I think our current world civilization, like in a geological time scale, it won't last long. What song are you whistling? It's by Weezer, I think. It's called Buddy Holly, Buddyholly, and the band is called Weezer. It's a fun song. It's a very normie song, but there's something like feisty in that. Unclear Rain says, do you see any current countries collapsing in the foreseeable future? Good question. It's all the rage, right? And especially the strongest countries like to moan about it. Like much has been said that the US is gonna collapse, whatever. I mean, I don't think any countries are likely to collapse the way Soviet Union did. I mean, if anything, my candidate may be Iran or, well, the current regime in Iran. But I don't know. Look, man, countries are really resilient. Like the Iranian regime could collapse, but Iranian people and some sort of government there is going to keep on living for hundreds of years. The same with Russia. I mean, communist Russia collapsed. Russians are still around. And sometimes political pundits like to have these wet dream fantasies. Russia is going to collapse into 7 different countries, or from the other side, there's the US is collapsing. There's going to be a civil war. No, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, Haiti's collapse could be considered like things are really bad down there, like that could be a interesting form. I mean, there's the collapse of a regime, then there's the collapse of a regime, and then there's the collapse of your community and your country and everything. So interesting. But yeah, I say, like, if 10 people in YouTube are talking about the collapse of something, like EU is gonna collapse, like political entities have like real tough lifespans. So take that with a pinch of salt. Oh, I got so many comments. I'm really flattered. All of you are here. I'm really happy. Kotobuki says, "Oh, you're still live. I made it in time. How's it going? It's going great. Thank you. If you don't mind a follow up on the latest question," says Benny. "Is there any fiction about the future you particularly like?" Well, I've always had a soft spot for S.M. Sterling's Domination series. Just go look it up. It's called the Domination series. It's a really dark future alternative history where there's this kind of slave keeping industrial civilization that's like a dark alternative to the States, to the Americas. And it's meant to be cautionary. And I'm really surprised how these alt rights or return to glory types haven't discovered it yet. When they do, I think it's going to be a shitstorm. But the Domination series by S.M. Sterling, really nice. Idle speculation says thoughts on the study which found stars whose characteristics were consistent with being surrounded by Dyson spheres. So yeah, I remember something like this. Basically, Dyson sphere is a theoretical construct. Imagine a civilization is so advanced they build a shell around the sun to harvest all of its energy. If you did a like actual sphere like a ball, the tensile strength needed would be stronger than any matter. So I think it's unlikely. You could still have a Dyson sphere made up of like lots of little plates individually swarming around the sun. But I don't know if you moving things in that scale, you would also notice traces of their construction, and I don't think we've noticed them. There's a study saying like showing like an unusual dimming in some stars, but maybe that's due to sunspots or some other hitherto unknown form of phenomenon. So who knows? But I don't think Dyson spheres or these Kardashev scale things, these are like 20th century engineering terms applied to a vast and still unknown and maybe unknownable cosmos. So take them with a with a pinch of salt. Unclear Rain says, what's going on in Haiti is insane, makes me wonder what it was like to live in the Soviet Union during its collapse. Well, good question. I guess we may have some friends in the audience now who are from ex-Soviet countries. What they did to the Soviet Union had its evils, but as soon as perestroika was announced, they were all over it. Especially the British were really, really savage. Overnight, they destroyed the country. There were no safety nets. People actually starved to death. University graduates were reduced to prostitution. They, like in the 1990s, there was even a phenomenon called the Natashas. Natashas were the name given to the prostitutes who came from ex-Soviet Union countries to whore themselves to the Turks. I mean, how ignominious, awful. And this actually begat Putin's version of extreme nationalism. And I mean, the sort of all the West is a satanic construct kind of conspiracy. But they really, really destroyed, they killed millions, millions. It's awful. It did not have to pan out that way. And also, like what they did to Yugoslavia, Germans, especially, not Germans, but Germany, especially. Oh, they were so happy watching the country tear itself apart. So happy. They did not want a competitor. So yeah, I mean, like, if you want another perspective on Western civilization, go ask somebody who lived in an ex-Soviet country. Benny says, my parents were from the Soviet Union and they always get angry when people say the collapse was a good thing. Yeah, exactly. Look, communism was really repressive. People were trying to run away from it. Like, you would be hard pressed to find someone who actually like thought the system was viable. But this doesn't mean they really raped and destroyed the entire country. What happened to the Soviet Union at the end of the 90s? It was like a Mongol sacking Samarkand or something. It makes me angry thinking about it. Which piece of fiction offended you the most? I don't know. I'm not easily offended. I hate it when they think the reader is a fool and they try to pull shit up. Unclear Rain says, I never knew it was so barbaric. Look, people were freezing in their houses and like starving. They were so used to this safety net of socialist society. Like in some cases, you came there in one night, you don't have anything anymore, and you're expected to pay rent or shit. It was like, I mean, I cannot stress this enough. It was really cruel and really barbaric. They did the same thing to Yugoslavia. They did the same thing when they took over Iraq, and they did the same thing to Syria. This does not mean these regimes were good or had benefits or like they had their own evils, but their own evil pales in comparison to the smug, shitty evil that the West visited upon them. Happened to Libya, yes, yes. They destroyed the country. And I love America, but like one of the greatest unwritten pieces of fiction, like maybe I will write it someday. Imagine somebody does to the US what the US did to the rest of the world, all to the EU or whatever. Like what happened in places like Libya or Iraq or something. Imagine aliens land. Suddenly, like your jobs don't exist. One day you wake up, you're fired. How are you going to feed your kids? Maybe you need to steal shit. Maybe you need to become a brigand. And to add insult to the injury, they handpick the worst elements in your society. The worst elements. Kislings, turncoats, traitors. And they put them in a pedestal. This is your president now. This is your leaders now. And they watch. Of course, they're not stupid. They know what's going on. They make the country destroy itself. It's like aliens land and they take white supremacists and assign them as like community leaders to the entire parts of the country and watch them do such a shitty job. The country destroys itself. So yeah. Michal Sadowski says, same as what Russia does to Ukraine. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, the hate I dished out is not a defense of Russia or Putin or what they're doing in Ukraine. But would this war have come about this way if maybe in the 1990s the West had a more less rapacious relationship with the dissolution of the Soviet Union? Cookie says the Western world destroyed many other countries, especially in Central America and South America. Yeah, I mean, look, it is a very tricky area to treat because I share the same values. I wanted to move to America. I still do. I have many American friends. I don't hate Americans, but like you don't become the best, like biggest or the strongest country in the world by just being nice. Thoughts on Turkey as a modern or historical nation? I'm really happy and proud to be a Turkish citizen too. And you look all around the region and you say, thank God, there's at least a functioning country. You probably, I mean, it could have been governed better, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You got safety, you got supermarkets, I mean, the mail works. Some people pay taxes, I guess. No. I think like Turkey, like I see this among a lot of upper middle class Turks. They're too quick to dunk on Turkey. Oh, brother, the alternative is not being like Norway or like Amsterdam or those like boutique places you line up to visit. The alternative is Syria, Libya, Yugoslavia, Kafkas. It's a very resilient country. And the government or the country's history aside, Turkish people are really like, if you go around the world and meet a number of people, you will know like Turkish people are all right. Brother man says, well said, my brother. All right. Cookie says, Absent Fish says, my ancestors got through the dissolution of the Soviet Union relatively safely. They were poor, but it was very tough times, even in the Russian capital, Moscow. Yeah, imagine the provinces. Imagine like the Russian version of Iowa or Nebraska, what they did to survive there. I wish the United States has had cool ruins like Europe and other nations. We got boring, abandoned gas stations and junkyards, says Cookies. I disagree. Actually, the United States is a great place for urbexing. I mean, I go to any channel in YouTube or Instagram, like there are these great abandoned factories. It's a wonderful place to explore. They're not modern, they're modern ruins, so they're not cool ruins, but it's got a kind of coolness all of its own. I think like for modern urbexing, I wish I could live in a part of the US and go explore all the modern ruins there. KS says we have amazing cave systems. You also have like you have very strange historic civilizations. Like somebody mentioned these mound builder cultures, where there are these like big mounds in the middle of the plains, and you can't really visit them like a Greek temple or whatever. So yeah, why love the US? That's so odd, says Elizabeth. So let me give you a great example there. Are you from the US, first of all, or maybe not? Let's clarify that first. Okay, in case you're from the US, it doesn't matter. So let me show you something, okay? I'll show you why I like the US. This microphone used to cost, I used to work maybe 1 week to be able to afford this. Oh, not one, 2 days of work could afford me this mic. Now I have to work 2 weeks to afford this mic. Good thing I bought it ahead of time. This holiday in this place, I can't afford it. And I work 2 day jobs. Plus, I have your Patreon donations and shit. The only reason I'm here now is because they invited me. Americans can drive, have a road trip just to think, to clear their minds. You got it so good. Even with all the shit, you got it so good. You still have the First Amendment. I'm not an edgy person. I don't want to, like, I would not want to, like, talk shit or diss people. But you got that comfort at least. Okay, yeah, all of these freedoms are being eroded now. But still, compared to the rest of the world, you got it good. Robotipi says, don't worry, Abim, next year you will get the diversity visa. Thank you. You know, a lot of American comments and discussions. And you got amazing nature too. Like in the States, you flip a stone, you have two snakes. It's nice. KS says, do you watch NFKRZ? Let me look at that. It's a YouTuber. No, I just subscribed to it though. Okay, I will keep watching this. Right to roam laws, asks Nicholas Fortney. Public access to wilderness. In Turkey, there's a similar law about the seashore, and technically nobody can, like, everybody has access to the seashore. But some hotels block it illegally, and then it's a thing. No, I think these are like good laws, right to roam. Popular says, I bought an offering, Kozaman. Who has a question? You bought an offering to me. Slippy says, thoughts on the Roman Empire? Study Byzantium. That's almost as interesting. And also study the Ottomans. That's almost as interesting. I believe Turkey is one of the rightful heirs of the Roman Empire. At any rate, we have more Romans ruined than Italy. We have more Roman ruins than Italy. Elizabeth says, carnivorous. I do enjoy meat, yes. Crack says, have you heard of Skibidi Toilet? Yes, I have. It's a wonderful form of medium, surreal humor at its best. And it's also, in terms of media studies, it's one of the first cases where something completely memetic and rhizomic rises to the top and becomes a global piece of culture. Blake Richardson says, the other day I found a massive spider just by moving a pebble. It crawled up my sleeve like a silly goober. Slippy says, Rome or Greece? Ancient Greece, I think. Ancient, like Crete and Mycenae, if I could go way, way more. The Roman Empire is also very interesting in its own right. It gets a bad rep because, well, all the retards are simping and glazing it, but they're kind of worshipping weird cinematic version. Like everybody wears leather. Men are supposedly virtuous, and like everybody's manly, and I think, oh, there's no degeneracy. That's the most laughable part. I mean, like the Romans got around. One of the nicest things about ancient Rome, there's a place called the tomb of the baker, the tomb of Eurysaces the baker in the outskirts of Rome. One of the largest private tombs surviving from the end of the Republican era. So it's like 50 to 20 BCE. Now, this is the nice thing about Rome and the ancient world in general, okay? This guy used to be a slave. He earned his freedom and he became a baker. He became really rich. And then he could afford this lavish tomb. Now that from freedom to a wealthy person with his own industry and stuff, that's a sign of upward mobility that Rome afforded, at least for a time, to people under its rule. Now, after Rome, you did not have that sort of upward mobility for centuries. And that was a great thing about Rome. Not gladiators, not this fucking strong man of the West shit, not the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, not the kind of great big ruins or like depravity or whatever. It was that sort of from slave to wealthy aristocrat. At least, at least one, at least one time in the world, somebody could do it. That means so much. Ulgan says, "Hey fellas, what are we talking about? We're talking about the other nice thing about the Roman Empire." Benny says, "Imagine a world where you can become rich by being a baker. Not just that, but you're also a slave who earned his manumission, then became a baker, then became rich." Mikin says, "Hello, what are we discussing today?" Welcome. Well, we're discussing about the Roman Empire. Crack says, "This is so awesome. I love you, CM Kozman. I love you too." Let's. I don't know, like ancient Rome, they had a lot of interesting, cool things. And the popular things are actually the most boring things about it. It certainly provided, look, I mean, this unity from Scotland to Egypt, I don't think that's ever going to exist again. So that's one thing. I don't think about the Roman Empire every day, though. Kotobuki says, "Do you care much for deep sea creatures?" Yes, I do. Taku Teira says, "I saw some Romans kept rats as pets. Yeah, they also had bikinis and still a lot of nuances about social life, everyday life in Roman times remains unknown. I mean, famously, you have these like metal polyhedron things, and They're very common, so they probably served a practical purpose, but nobody really knows what they were used for. Some people say they were like bases for patterns for knitting gloves, or I don't know. Benny says, what do you think about the Society of Spectacle by, I think, Guy Debord, right? Yeah, Society of Spectacle. I read this in my master's. It's a Marxist critical theory, and the author is called Guydebord, Guy Debord. Long story short, it's a study on the relations between mass media and society and power. I mean, you don't need to conceptualize this as a scientific law, but you can notice a lot of things in these books without referring to the philosophers themselves. Ulgun says, any plans in the Aegean region near Izmir this summer? Well, I'm in the Aegean region in Izmir, near Izmir right now. I don't know about the rest of the summer though. I am in Çanakkale province at the moment. Ulgun says, what do you think about snails? I think they're great. They're one of the few animals you can collect and scientifically study without killing because you can find empty shells. They have tremendous diversity. They're like tiny hairy snails or like these things called closilids that have like tall minaret like spikes and shells. Hmm. And they're also very counterintuitive, the way their feet move and the way they act around. Cookie says, Comrade Kozeman. Hayden says, what do you think about Western industrial society seeing itself as inheritors of Rome? Interesting. I mean, I would say the Islamic world has. So there's this late Ottoman era essay, and I don't think anybody in the Western world knows about it. But it's about a guy conveying a Westerner in Istanbul. And then he asks the Western guy, do you know where the biggest ancient temple, the biggest Roman temple in the world is? I know the Roman temples with all those columns and stuff. And the Western tourist says, is it the Athenian Parthenon? No. Is it the temples in Agrigento in Italy? No. The Ottoman dignitary says. No, actually, he says. The biggest Roman temple in the world is in Istanbul's Sultanahmet district. No, sorry, it's near the Hagia Sophia, where the minarets of the Hagia Sophia, together with the minarets of the Blue Mosque, now make up the columns of a vast new temple, greater than any. And under Islam, the multiple gods have come together with Christianity, and under Islam, the whole world has become oikumenos. The whole world has become sacrosanct. So those minarets are actually columns of a vast Roman temple that encompasses outside and inside and the whole world. This is the way the Ottoman guy sees it, of course. And it's a very, very interesting way of looking at things. I mean, at least some late Ottoman people, even into the early 1900s, they saw themselves as inheritors of ancient Rome, Byzantium, and all those other cultures. And oh, got a neck cramp all of a sudden. And I guess some Western cultures have that claim too. But they've descended from all these barbarians Rome tried for centuries to extirpate. You got all these like blonde motherfuckers and I say, oh, return. Yeah, you have you seen what the Romans look like? Modern society also invents this weird racial element into it too. No, it's like it was a powerful historic entity, so it attracts a lot of losers who only fetishize and want power. Ulgan says a friend's mother used to have a snail farm. Have you? I haven't tried eating snails. Is Garavloi good? I have eaten snails in Italy. They were delicious, delicious, but they're very hard to prepare. You have to like take the things out of the shell and clean them and put them back into the shell and cook them and like blah, 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 blah. They're delicious though. But be very careful because those things have parasites and like you could really die by from the parasites you get from snails. Got this neck cramp. Oh, did you hear that? Mm. Elizabeth says, how advanced would our society be had Western expansion been only about learning and exploration? I mean, I'm afraid to say probably we would not have the same physical comforts because these things always come after war and power. You could argue that after each big war, there's a big spurt in engineering and science, and then it filters, trickles down to Gen Pop. And I don't think like if you suddenly put Chinese people or Ottomans or I don't know Africans or South Americans into the driver's seat of Western civilization, they probably would not have fared any much differently. Let us say. I think a lot of these civilizational outcomes and trajectories are not 100%, but to a large degree dictated by geography and nature. Nicholas Fortney, do you think insect protein will ever catch on culturally in the world? I don't know. It seemed that way for a while, didn't it? Like there was this big push for like entomophagy, but is it really that cost effective? Plus, I think like livestock has a value all of its own. I mean, people don't raise livestock because they're looking for the best way of nutrition. It's also a way of life for many people around the world. And I mean, before you get to insects, you could just 10x chicken farms, and that would solve a lot of nutrition problems without needing to adopt like grasshopper farms all over the place. So, like for cheap protein, there are many other options that the world needs to exhaust before getting to bugs. And it looks like a lot of the chatter about that was just PR. I mean, I could totally see a future where there are like government incentives for chicken farming or other kinds of like quails or other forms of birds or fish farms or like soybeans and stuff before you get to insect farms. So I don't know. Hunter Eyes says, "You're a great source of inspiration. I admire you a lot." Clam James says, "How do you get your hair to part like that?" I I wash it and comb it, and then it becomes this way. I'm in a humid place, so it's really fluffy now. Got lots of hearts coming around. Okay. Donkey Kong says, "Where are you?" Not far now. If you can guess the movie reference. Blue Powerade Supremacy, says Ilgun. Ilgun has a lot of snail comments. Apparently, I can get snails in Kadıköy, which is a district of Istanbul. Maybe. How easy would it be to find snails in Izmir? I don't know. Is the texture mouth feel? I don't know. Yeah, actually, I've eaten snails and it's very salty and chewy. It's like a harder and less greasy sort of calamari. I really like snails. Blake Richardson says, "Should I make a surreal painting or a creature drawing?" Yes, but today I can't show images. But do it for yourself. Do you consider videos for stuff? Says, do you consider Giger's Alien and James Cameron Queen Alien designs good or bad? I think they're excellent forms of excellent creature design. Like the gold standard, really. Pepular says, favorite shellfish. Big fan of mussels. Also, cuttlefish, octopi, squid. I really like prawns and crayfish too. And one of my favorite ways to eat it, I don't pick them apart. I just eat the whole shell and everything, swallow it all, let God sort it out. Cookie says, I really loved your Civil War movie review. I would love to see more geopolitical stuff from you. Well, give me some prompts. What should I talk about? I really want to go deeper into that sort of stuff. I even have this thing to like this. There's this channel called What If Althist, a somewhat misguided but really smart guy talking about history. He identifies everything wrong with the world. Then he like I think he also has a keen handle on like civilizations and stuff. Then he says like it's because leftists are degenerate, and like he arrives at a completely wrong conclusion. He mistakes the poisoned fruit for the roots. Really interesting guy, big eccentric too. And at least for that alone, I respect him. So he had this thing called like I have a war against the internet now. He also came out with his own weird personal philosophy where he thinks him and his based Western buddies can prevent social collapse by being honorable and righteous, and like he basically like has this kind of like leper king of Jerusalem thing going. He's really like hyperactive too, very productive, very popular too, like probably more popular than I'll ever be. Is that a bad good thing though? I don't know. But anyways, I would love to like have an interview with this guy, not even as a debate. I mean, I know there are probably things he'll never see through my eyes, but he's an interesting guy. So I would love to talk about some social issues with somebody like that, maybe from the other side of the spectrum, even though I don't see myself as a leftist. Popular says, "What powerful guts you have." Only to fart better. Lamao says, Ilgan. Cookie says, "I know about what if autist. It's unfortunate finding smart people, but they get pushed in the completely wrong direction." Yeah. Abi, what have you done? Just keeping my reputation as chaotic. It's almost 2 hours, guys. I missed you. Clam James says, "What's your opinion on crab meat?" Lovely. I love the way it tastes. Have you ever had crickets to eat? Yes, yes. They're just bland. I mean, there's nothing gross about them. They're just tasteless. Gaming Center Salisbury says, "I have brain rot from one of your works, Father Mehmet." Which work, my son? Favorite seafood? I already told you. Mikin says, "What are your perspectives, the Ottoman perspective on the Balkans?" The Ottomans tried to rule a multi-ethnic society, and they came up with a very clever solution that worked at least for a time, which was the millet system, where they kind of woke up to the fact that like different groups of people, I mean, they probably could not do it, or they at the time it wasn't convenient, but they knew that different communities had to exist as communities, so they had to come. They came up with this millet system, which is not exactly religious, not exactly ethnic, but they had these like different groups, almost breeds of people, but it's not ethnic in terms of like an ethno group, you know. I mean, you have the Christian millets, but then the Armenians are a different Christian millets than the Greeks, for example. That's how they classified and ruled over their subjects. Unfortunately, this led to a kind of human zoo situation where every community was left to fend for themselves. And of course, unstated through all this was like, if you were a Muslim, you were far more like, you were like a superior level of citizenry. And this thing was suitable maybe in the early modern era compared to European feudalism. But after something like ethnic nationalism and nation states came along, there's no chance it could fly. So it took them 3 centuries to completely fall apart. But Turks are late adopters, but they pulled the nation state thing better off than any European did. For its with like in both senses of the world. Yeah, so it was a weird thing. I mean, the Balkans have always been fragmented, and the Ottoman centuries and before them Byzantium were the only times when that region was united. Maybe the millet system did something right, at least for a time. But there's no way this thing can happen now. It's a pipe dream, and there are new axioms in play. Do you have a favorite debunked scientific theory? Yes, there's this very weird Soviet theory about oil forming by itself out of the Earth's core. almost like the living blood of the planet. Too bad it's not real. Gaming Center Salisbury says, in Snayad, my speculative evolution project, Turkey, Greece, and Cyprus unite. How is this possible? I don't know. Look, I'm gonna have to revise that whole bit. Hacı Dalek says, favorite city in Turkey, Eskişehir. I was there 2 weeks ago. I fucking love it. I want to live there. I think I will live there. Eskişehir. Go watch my channel, and there's a big city adventure movie about Eskişehir. Polydidalus says, what's your opinion on Eugenio Dontia? Oh, those are the buzzsaw. Yeah, they're great. So these are fish like Helicoprion, which are the kind of spiraling magazine of teeth. They're wonderful. We still don't know what exactly they look like. Ilgan says, what's your memleket? I'm from Ankara. I'm very proud to be from Ankara. Ankara is like the Washington, D.C. of Turkey. It's the government central. But when you come from Ankara, you realize that most people in Istanbul are just swindlers and unreliable. So, in that respect, fuck Istanbul. Ankara is the place to be. But I revised that. Now Eskişehir is the place to be. Really nice, small, livable, walkable, 15-minute city. I love it. Crack. In a scale of 1 to 10, how wholesome? Is that a furry thing? What the hell is... I know. It's not up to me to judge myself. I'll just leave it at that. Ankaralı gang, says Ilgun. It's just Poe and awesome, says Crack. You're baiting me into something. I can feel it. Blake Richardson says, how do you keep high confidence? It's something I have really hard time with. I mean, behind the scenes, I have really dark moments like everybody. Despair, hardness, regrets, etc. But, if it doesn't kill you, it doesn't matter. And when you're dead, you stop caring. So why? I used to have like big anxieties in my mid-20s about like, I'm going to get cancer, I'm going to get sick. Look at me, I'm 40 now. I just stopped caring. Like literally one night I was drinking with John Conway. He said, you're already dead. Why are you like in the long term? Nobody's going to not die. The quicker you make peace with that, you don't mean to be dark and like gloomy either. Sooner you make peace with that, the more calm you be. Also, it helps to have a passion. I have a passion. I have art. I have my speculative evolution stuff. I have YouTube and you guys. It drives me. I have my books. I have my big projects. Nicholas Fortney says, are you religious? Yes, but I have my own private understanding of the mysteries of life. I also must say I really respect all religions, and it's a kind of fashionable thing in Turkey if you're a modern person to kind of dunk on Islam. And I understand where those sentiments come from because, well, it's been mixed too much with politics. But still, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you don't need to believe in something to appreciate the value it holds for the greater good of society. Hacı Dalek, new city video. I'm gonna make a video about my adventures in Çanakkale soon. Unclear Rain says, Father Kosemen, I am going to Italy this summer. Any recommendations? We are landing in Venice, going through Florence, then into Rome. Okay, here's what you're gonna do. When you go to Venice, write this down. Go to the little island of Burano. Not Murano, where they make the glass. It's called Burano. Burano. I lived and worked near Venice for nearly 3 years in the city of Treviso. I was an editor for Benetton Company. It was a really nice time of my life. Go to Burano and fucking avoid the Rialto Bridge or the Central or the areas around the train station. That's just shit. Go to a bookshop, find an old guy, ask them where they have dinner or lunch, and go to one of the local restaurants. Avoid tourist places like the Plague. Venice is really overrated. But if you go to Burano, it's a tiny island full of little colorful houses. It's very quiet, not many tourists there. There's a ferry that kind of like works between there and other parts of Venice. Find it. Burano, Burano. And in that little island, it's a tiny island full of like little Oompa Loompa houses. There's this one tiny restaurant. Really nice place. And also, you're going to get this. Try to get black spaghetti with squid ink. Also, get this thing called Aqua Menta Frizzante. And it's this green minty soda. Lovely. Also, try like if you like alcohol, a glass of Campari with cuts of bacon or salami. I salivate thinking about those things. Are there any insane batshit historical theories you enjoy considering? Yes. Now you look at all the AI shit. What if somebody had all that AI shit 20, 30, 40 years ago? Is any of the media we've been consuming real? Has it ever been? Maybe we're so far penetrated we can't tell it apart. Mikin says, how did you get into work as an advertising copywriter? Well, I was always a creative person, and when I finished college, I studied filmmaking, so I could either go to places, studios to direct commercials, or into the advertising industry. I also had a talent for art, of course. Now, I choose the advertising industry for jobs because the filmmaking circuit is kind of tiring, and like it was clear that I wasn't gonna like become an auteur director by shooting pizza commercials and shit. So I turned to ad agencies, and there I realized, I like painting, I like art, I like spec evo. I want these things to belong to me. So I went the other way. I said, okay, I've got a way with words. I've got good English, which nobody has it in this part of the world. So I became a copywriter to preserve my art for myself. That's the gist of it. Well, it's nearly 2 hours, everybody. And there's been a lot of comments and so many people. I'm really happy. So thank you. Um, I'm gonna sort out how to do the OBS thing, and I hope we can do future strips streams on YouTube. So, any last questions or like any last messages? I'm a bit tired, guys. I'm just gonna faint. Do you think the blue whale could be realistically the largest animal in the history of the earth? Yes, but also imagine what other sea creatures there were. I'm definitely sure there used to be ichthyosaurs that were bigger than whales, as big as blue whales. What's your favorite dinosaur or pterosaur? Says Clem James. Dilophosaurus. I love the sound it made in Jurassic Park. Digital Banyo says, would you consider watching video essays and critiquing them in next streams? We could do that. I mean, if you want to. Mikin asks, I'm in a similar position about advertising copywriting, but I have to make it my money cow. Look, I'll give you a tip from a one ad man to another. When you write for advertising, be brief, use as few words as possible, and always consider how is your message going to help the company make money, the company being your client. I mean, imagine your job is to sell this, okay? Uh, you could, for example, say, your mission is to make people buy this. You're not there to do art. You are not there to be graceful. You are not there to be artistic. So I don't know. You could say something like a false answer would be to say like turquoise cup, lovingly made with turquoise glaze and brown glaze, and or you could say who's gonna buy this? Probably housewives or people who operate hotels. So you could sell ecological green glazing, safety retaining edge glazing. I don't know. I mean, you could, or you could come up with a tagline saying like everyone's favorite eco mug because you just made it up. You call this ecological because glaze is inert. There's no plastics in it. Plastic free ecological glazing. So you have to be really pragmatic, and when you make sentences, you also have to be really you have to have an economy with word. You also like be direct and be honest, even when you're lying. Be honest. Avoid using catchphrases. Yeah. Would you ever watch analog horrors? Maybe. If you draw Sailor Kuhanim, can I see it? Says Ilgun. Crack is gonna draw it. There's also there was a Korean fan who made a lot of high school or like Sailor Moon themed All Tomorrow's characters. Go check them out. What's this thing with Sailor Moon? I don't even like Sailor Moon. Boop, 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 boop. Bye, Cosman. I have to go, says Blake Richardson. Have a wonderful night. Bye. Everyone, before we go, let me know where you're from. What's your week been like? Let me have a call out and let's all say good night. Robotipi says, I would like to see a colonial. Look, this has been done before. Somebody did it already. Crack says, good night from Mexico. Good night, Crack. Hunterized, good night. Nick Glab, old friend. Have you read One Piece? No, I haven't. It unfortunately doesn't strike my attention that much. North Carolina represent cookies and just finished my sophomore school year. Congratulations. Idle speculation. Good night. Benny, good night from Germany. Auf Wiedersehen. Michigan represent. Hacı Dalek, Türkiye, iyi geceler. Good night from South Africa, Takuteira, peace. I had a terrible week, says Nick Glab. Well, I hope things get better. Good night from Michigan. Look, if you're watching the record me, buy me a coffee or go to my Patreon, please. Good night from Ireland, Clem James. Good night from Texas. Have you watched Dragon Ball Z? No, I haven't. Dragon Ball Z is like the Doritos of anime. Good night from Türkiye, iyi geceler abim. Good night from San Antonio, Texas. This is the true insight of an artist. We are all so different and yet similar. This is unifying. Thank you. Ilgun, good night from Türkiye gang. Good night. Smash it off with fireworks. Does it work? Nick Glab says, just introduce your coworkers. They love your art. Just let them know they can buy my paintings and I ship internationally. Would you be interested in commenting on Spec Evo documentaries on stream? I only want to comment on trashy Turkish films now. Digital Banyo, we're so cooked as Turkey community. I think the whole world is cooked. Don't be so pessimistic. Do not be so proud of this technological terror you've constructed. I did a big review of the Turkish Star Wars, but it got delisted because of copyright claims, which is very ironic because the film itself steals from Star Wars. So I don't know what's going on there. Good night, everyone. Stay curious, says Nick Glab. Well, that's the spirit. Good night, peoples, and stay safe and have fun. Goodbye. Boom.